remember we went on this date. I remember we went on this date once, and that was in the early stages of dating. I think we were even still just friends at that time. And we literally sat in the vehicle and talked for hours and hours and hours about every single topic that you could think of: spirituality, school, friendships, family. And just the fact that I could not get bored around her. I say, yeah, man, we can talk to this girl for the rest of my life. And if you don't know me, I love chat when ready. So that was a plus.
Okay, all right. So in addition to all those lovely things that you just said, my answer is pretty simple. And I think I said it on my wedding day. I think when you love somebody as much as I loved him, cared for him as much as I cared for him, and just knowing that, you know, being around him, I could not get enough of his company. I wanted to seal the deal. You know, what is one thing that you can do to show somebody that you love them and you will love them forever? You get married. So put it on paper. That's it for me.
Thank you, thank you. We'll just move right along. That was lovely, by the way. So Yvonne.
Yvonne, why would you marry her? And the next thing is, I married her because I asked God. And the other thing is that, as I always sang to her, you're once, you're twice, you're three times a lady, and I love you. I love you. I don't need to say anything, right? Okay, but seriously, why did we get married? Literally, we asked God, because it's not that it's coming from a situation where just each other and then say, oh, you know, I like that guy, or you know, like that. We were actually working together, growing up in the church. We're just friends, regular friends, and then we started seeing things a little bit different, and the Lord started showing us a little more about each other. And I realized that Paul is a person that he cares deeply for me. And as you said, he would sing about me being a lady. And there's a term that he usually said, called me the English lady. But I could just be myself around him, and I could just see my life with him, spending my life with him. And the love just developed. I can't explain otherwise, because we were really just friends. And I was sharing with somebody the other day, just remembering what happened and what even led us in the direction. We were really friends. We had a BYF program, and it was a Valentine's program. And we, what we did for the program, I was group leader and he was president. And and what we did was we created some hearts, and we cut the hearts into, and we wrote something like, you have cat and mouse, bun and cheese. So you were to go around and find your partner. And it so happens that he had the other half of my heart. So when we saw that, we looked at each other and said, something is going to be happening here, literally. And yeah, that's where it blossomed from. So let's see where God had a hand in this relationship. So we had to just seal it and get married.
Okay. Well, look at them things that be never do. But know the singing part though, because you know, not that far. And now on to Uncle Carlton, and you know, as me, you know, grow up around the auntie and the uncle come natural for me. So
Good evening, everyone. So
it was just a time when I realized that I think I was getting old and my plans in life was to get married. So of course, during those time from years before and years in front looking, I know that I would get married. But who would I marry to? That's the question. Of course, being a Christian at the time, I always looked to the Lord to say, who should I get married to? And it was something within that I didn't really express to anybody, but deep within, I was always praying for God to direct me to the right person, because I never have it in mind just to marry anybody, because I never have in my mind ever to get divorced. So that was the thing that I want to make sure that the Lord is the person who will lead me to the one I should get married to, because once I get married, it's going to be for life. However, I recognize that there was this I must confess, I love pretty girls. So that's it. And I see this pretty girl in church. It was there, you know. Joe McCullough daughter. And then this particular time, I said, oh, I never see her before, and she was right there every day in church. Anyway, the Earl was to try and find out if she loved me. And of course, you have to pass the General Joseph McCullough.
Where is so far?
So anyway, I think that one of the reasons for me getting married, though, let me get back to the question, is that I was looking for somebody who is spiritual, somebody whose background would help me as a person in my Christian walk, somebody who comes from a solid background, as in her mother was an evangelist, and if it was the other way around, then she would never really, say yes to me, because my background has nothing to do with that. But I suppose the Lord was always in it to make sure that we come together. And there are persons who always, sanction and, see us as being a couple. And, one day I just proposed. I don't know if I answer all your question. I think Carlene went to say so.
So, until now, I don't know how I married to Carlton, because I never liked him. I never ever liked him at all.
Holy Ghost power is moving just like
his way, sister.
Power is moving just like a magnet.
Carlton used to talk a lot, and him just in everything like salt. And he just up in everything. And I mean, let me see how Carlton upon choir and can't sing. But he was very faithful, he was very committed, he was very kind, loving. But I just couldn't take the talking, man. He only for talking. But I'm telling you, he was a true Christian. And what attracted me to him, he was very neat. He never had a lot of clothes, one shirt, one white shirt, and one black pants. But he wore it, when I call it now, he was always clean and neat. Or red shirt, I don't remember. But he was very neat and clean. And let me tell you what caused me to start even to think about him. All the time people would remember when summertime I used to go on trip. Remember when you go on the bus and go on trip? So I think we went to a trip, it was Puerto Rico Beach. And coming home from the trip, the bus would drop you off at your stop. So I was coming off on Old Harbor Road. So just about before I disembarked the bus, he brought me a note. So I said, what is? So he said, I me really never did like him them time, really. Admire him, but never thinking of loving him. And he said to me, read this note when you get home. So I wrote up the note, man, I push it down on my bag. And when I got home, the first thing we take out, we say, what right on the note here? And what was written on
I
the
don't know,
note,
man.
what was written on the note was Proverbs 31. That's the woman I want to get married to. And having read that note, so I went from my scripture, my Bible quickly, and I read it. And that was the beginning of a wonderful relation.
Under the Proverbs 31 there, I make sure that this Holy Spirit was with that note, man.
Wrapped up in it.
Wrapped up and tied up,
And
tangled up.
Thank you, wonderful couples. Boy, we can make people laugh, though. Wow. All right, thank you for answering that question. All right, so the second question that I will specifically ask, I want to pick on Samuel and Annika for this one. So, what were your expectations of marriage before you actually got married? Samuel, laugh.
All right. We have all adults on the chat, right? So one of my biggest expectations was that there would be worshiping every single night. And when we say worshiping, we're not talking. And my expectation, I would have the energy
To worship.
to worship. And that my wife would worship.
All my prayer meetings.
Like,
And that my wife would be like David in the temple, worshiping freely too. But that was one expectation that was quickly debunked because I realized that we each have our different moods, cycles, different energy levels, a lot of different things impact on that. And what I had to understand quite quickly is that it's, even though it's a service, it's not something that you force on your partner. It's not something that you demand from your partner either. Sometimes you do actually have to make time for it. It's an important part of your marriage that you have to make time for. Another thing that this was a bit earlier on in probably before I dated Annika, I just thought that when you're married to somebody, the more fights you have, it's the worse the relationship, or you're not supposed to fight when you're married. When I say fight, I mean argue. You're not supposed to argue when you get married. Truth be told, we haven't had a lot of arguments, to be honest, but teeth and tongue has to meet. There will be disagreements. There will be times when, you love the person, but you don't really like them so much they did. You understand? But the fact is that there will be differences, and what really causes a marriage to be successful is that even if there are differences, you want to make sure, there's this advice that I got from somebody. If you're angry with your partner, don't ever go to your bed angry. All right? And the Bible says, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. No matter how much you're angry, no go your bed angry. Yes, it is a struggle, and yes, we don't get it right all the time. That's but true. Try your best. If you even forget and you go your bed angry when you wake up, make the first thing is to sort it out. Yeah. So those are the two things I expected. No arguments and everyday worshiping.
Bless the Lord, brother. Bless the Lord.
Amen to the everyday worshiping, my brother.
Expectations. I suppose probably that, the spark will just always be there. From you get married, it just, I got it there, it's like a license for always be there. But I've learned quite quickly that you have to be intentional about it. You have to be very, very intentional about it. And just probably that, they're going to just know exactly what you need all the time. So not true. You just expect that, boy. Once you get married, it will just be the two of you and you'll just know everything about you and blah, blah, blah. No, it's something that you have to continue working on. Funny enough, to me, it's when you get married, that's really when the work begins. Yeah. So that's probably those are some of my expectations.
Yeah, attest to those. Love. All right. So the next question I want to direct to the Holness. How do you deal with the hiccups that arise in your relationship?
Boy, that's a big question, because we had so many. When the hiccups
Anonymous
came
preface
up,
it for you.
when the hiccups came about, boy, sometimes they weren't handled well. You have to remember, it's two totally different people, from two different, absolutely different backgrounds coming together. So there are times when you would have like a clash. There are times when you would have misunderstanding. But what we did, sometimes we were able to have a conversation. Now fool yourself, me and Carlton quarrel, I'm quarrel enough time, I'm vex enough time. So don't fool yourself and things. The marriage is just a walk in the park and it is happily ever after. But we have had many clashes, and some of the clashes we have even had to get godly counsel to help us to work it through. And the fact though is that once you are in love, anything that is happening, you can get over that hurdle. The background to it is just remember that you are in love. I remember one day we had a disagreement, went to bed mad and miserable and everything. And you know what Carlton said to me? Him say, when you bother vex with me, fan vex over the situation. And tomorrow we agree back and we head up on pillow and we in love again. That's just a way waste time. I'm a bit vex, That make me just vex even more. On top of me vex somebody that already have. But when I listen and when I took time out to look into it, it never made no sense. And there's a thought that says for every minute that you are angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness. And so when there's a disagreement, we try to, as Carlton would always say, you don't get at the person, you get at the situation. So you work at the situation and keep your personality out of it. And that is how we work through it year after year, well, minute after minute, day after day, week after week, and see. Just look at us now, 34 years. So it wasn't a walk in the park, but being committed to the task, we made it. Your time?
All right, so Sasha started the conversation online with the whole matter of husbands love your wife. Now, it is important not to marry anybody who your spirit take. Don't marry anybody that your heart, when you see them, your heart now goes so boof, 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 bang, bing, ging, and all sort of things. So I married Carlene because I know I love her. And so because of that, whatever the situation, the circumstances, all in the vex, me love her same way. So it's like, it's sort of funny, but you're vex, you're upset about something, but you know you love the person. And that is what carries me because I love her. It doesn't matter if she go up, down, side, whatever the situation. And I know at the end of the day, she said, we're going to agree back because even if she don't want to agree back, never do something. Never go like a foolishness, like a joke, something. She must come around. Because as the man in the relationship, I think on the head of the house, you must be head in everything. So if we are going to be the head in making sure that certain things done in the home, certain decisions are made, and you want to be the first one to close a deal on buying a house, buying a car or something, then you must be the first to close the deal on making sure that the relationship is on top. So I take the lead in that many times to make sure that things are back on track. It's many times it's not easy, but I can tell you, after 34 years, we have been there, done that, and still madly in love. And so, I am still seeing another 34 years and counting. So, just make sure that you're in love. If you're not in love, every little thing going to annoy you, and you're going to look quick to throw in the towel, as some persons would say.
So, guys, this is the man I'd marry all over again.
Even though they don't like salt. Yeah. Yes, I must admire that every time I see you guys, especially if it's a couples event, like the dinner or the thing, it's very evident that it's a bubble.
Yeah.
Very evident that
Only
I would
inspiration.
not have assumed that start by the way about you the dislike, and I would not have assumed that is far on the other side of the river.
Yeah.
So
Only
Remember
inspiration.
that. Remember that I wasn't the most handsome guy back then.
True. Yes, it's true. It's ugly for true.
You,
Yeah.
you notice my between braces now, trying to correct damages from birth defects.
Love is a good thing. Love covers all, yeah.
A multitude of sins.
that's why beauty is it. But wait, but
Eyes of the beholder.
I was going to say beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, but I don't want to say it. So, I don't know what to say
The
there.
love covers.
Let me tell you this, bro. Let me close by saying this. This is a serious point. All right. Never love somebody and get married because of an outward beauty only. You're going to get the shock of your life, because you see, when that person meets in an accident, when they have some sickness that the lady start to put on weight, or she start to lose weight rapidly, or she gets old, she have children now, and she start to get sad and the belly get big and she out of shape, and so you're going to have a problem. Make sure that the love is within. Once you love the person, because the person have this love inside, and I think it's my inner beauty that hold
my heart.
one Carlene's heart, my inner beauty, and it only get better. So remember, outward make it small, minute. It's going to be there because as you see a girl, you're going to see every man loves girl a particular way. Sometimes the shape, sometimes the height, sometimes the ear, sometimes the eyes, sometimes the lips, all of that. But remember, those things will fade. But the inner beauty is what counts. And once you love, and then guess what, ladies? If you're married a ugly man like me, you just fix him up.
That's right. As I did. Just look at you now.
And if you're married a girl where she not so, your shape, you just take her to the gym and fix her up because she inside nice. So whenever the outside can always fix up, but when the inside bad, you can't change that.
And let me tell you, for persons who may not know, we have been through. Carlton has broken his hand, he has broken his foot, he crashed and broke his neck. I was in a wheelchair, thought he was going to be crippled, and we have been through so much. In an accident, right off car, so many things happened. Carlton lost his job, unemployment came in, but we stuck together. You would never know. But we stuck to it because of love. So as Carlton said, don't just marry because she's tall, dark, and handsome, or the man is tall, dark, and handsome. It has to be far more than that, because the test of time will prove. The taste of the pudding is in the eating. So a word to the wise is sufficient.
And another thing, wives usually have a beautiful smile. And even if you don't look so well, once you start to smile, man, laugh. I learned that because when I was young, as I said, I was the most handsome guy. But I love to laugh. So when you laugh, they start to hide some of the thing, and I continue to laugh. Laughter is good, is a good medicine.
And he's the clown. He's the clown in our home. Guess what? Let me tell you a little secret. Don't tell nobody, me tell you now. Carlton dances for me. You must see him dance for me.
So the inner beauty is what you must look for, the inner beauty. All right, blessings.
All right. So my takeaway from that is marry where you don't like in the beginning. So, all right. So next question now is for Yvonne and Paul. It is, How do you deal with the third party in the marriage? Example, mother-in-law, her siblings or his siblings, friends. I'm assuming this is in a negative aspect in terms of if they're negative towards the, or how do you deal with it in general? How do you deal with third party?
It's strange that you asked me that question. It's strange that you asked me that question because when we just get married, we never have nowhere to live because time will come up, no house, we can't get no house to rent, and where the houses are was like far, and we don't have anywhere to live. So we go on and go on and go on and go on until 2 weeks before the wedding. We still don't have nowhere to live, and we get married. So her parents had a house that was empty, and they wanted us to come there. And I said, no. I have always had this thing that relationship, when you're gonna get married, you should go by yourself and live not in your family's place, because sometimes that can be a problem. You can imagine if I may have an argument and I see a mother and father come over. No, sir, I couldn't deal with that. So we actually got a place, actually is our co-worker shared our house so that we could stay there for the time when we just get married. And that's how we started. And I've always said to her that there's nothing, as a matter of fact, Yvonne's father and mother is two of the nicest persons I've ever met. So it's not a negative towards them, but it's always my thing that that wherever we go to live, we're not going to live in that. I wouldn't go to my mother's house to live with Yvonne, and similarly, I wouldn't go to Yvonne's house. I've always said that I wanted to live on my own. I want to have our own challenges, want to deal with our own issues. So that was one for families. And let me tell you, even before Yvonne and myself got married, Louis and myself and David, we used to live at the same house. And while we were at church, no matter what happened at church, even if I was in disagreement with what Louis and David do, I'd never say anything negative about them while they're at church. But if it was when we're coming home or when we reach home, I put it to them that what you do, a foolishness you do. But while we were at church, even though we weren't brothers, we just live at the same place. While we were at church, nothing they did, I said anything to disagree with them at church or in public. And I carried that into marriage. If I think Yvonne did something at church, I would never ever get up and say, boy, Yvonne, a foolish you should do, what you do, I don't like it. When we reach home, I said to Yvonne, look, that is not the right way to do this. But today was you shouldn't do it that way. There's other ways to deal with matters. And so whether it's family or friend or wife is the same thing. Once I trust people, once I give my thing to people, I stand by them. I am not afraid to tell persons who I care about what I think. I am not afraid. I will tell them, but I choose where to tell them. And that's how I deal with that from the beginning.
And if I may, especially with in-laws, whatever issues we're having, we talk about it. And we don't carry it to a third party. So that's the first thing. So as much as my mother and we were close, my mother close to all her daughters. Growing up in a house with a lot of children, I saw the negatives that came out of when my siblings would take their problems, to our parents. The parents get involved. And then what happened? the sibling and the partner make up and everything is quite fine, but the third party still having issues. And for us, we saw that that was not good for us. So every single thing that happens between us, we take it to God. If we realize that we can deal with it, we take it to God. Well, we're not taking it to a third party. So I don't really have any issues with in-laws because the in-laws know. And if you will talk to my mother, she will say, I don't really know nothing about Yvonne, you know, and our relationship. If I not tell me this, if I not tell me that, because she knows. I said, whatever happens is between me and him, is not between me and him and the third party. So that's an advice I would say to young people. Whatever issues you're having, just try to deal with each other. If it's gone so bad that you need professional counseling, or that advice to go to the professional or third party, because we try not to get them involved in our decisions.
All right, great. So one of the questions was about the fire in the marriage, but I feel like that question was already answered based on some answers given already, you know, Uncle Carlton dancing and things, and if you want to think about that. And Samuel and him worshiping. But, you know, the next question for everybody though is there a set role that each of you play in the marriage? Is there set roles that you play that, you know, you select and boom?
So we can start with Samuel and Annika, then Paul and Yvonne, and then Carlton and Carlene. So we can go in that order.
All right. So yeah, I like to say that we intertwine our roles. It's both ways. We intertwine some roles, and some roles we know that that's a particular person's responsibility. So for example, housework. Annika doesn't touch anything outside the yard.
Oh.
Outside the yard is
But I mean,
my
I want to the lawn.
Almost had me there.
I want to the land and the lawn every now and then.
anyways, so outside the yard is my responsibility. Annika sometimes tries to help out with the watering of some things, but keyword tries to help out. So that's my thing. And there's some rules in the house that Annika does. Not to say, and let me say, not to say that you don't help out in the house, men. Ensure that you help out in the house, even if there's some things that your wife normally does. You make sure say you help out with it too, because secret, if your wife is tired, you cannot worship.
Not at all.
So you have to help your wife so that she's not too tired, so that both of you have enough energy to worship. Yes. All right. So you have to help out. The next thing is in terms of money management. So Annika, her studies is in accounting. So she's the fiscal type of person. So money management is her thing. That's just her. And I have no problems about that. I know that in some traditionally the man is supposed to manage the money. I've heard from some quarters that that's the tradition, but the truth is that you're supposed to really play to your strengths and what you know that you're weak in, or what you know that your partner has a strength in. You allow her to shine, whichever it is. Yeah, kind of dual.
Kind of dual. With the money
you kind of more. You have.
I save more. That's
yes,
what you're trying to
she
say.
saves more. She's the banker. Yeah. She saves more.
Yeah, I'm more to say, hey, yeah, that's true. I guess that's true. Yeah, and of course, Sam is the chauffeur. Yeah, I'll drive every now and then, but you know, let's be honest, ladies, they're probably going to drive more. If we're going anywhere, any long trip, he's probably going to drive. I think I'm probably more the person that would probably come up with like date night ideas and stuff like that. Yeah, that's probably me. Yeah, but I think that would cover. I think that's what you meant, right? Like household stuff. And yeah, I'll probably cook. He would probably assist. If it's not his night to cook, he'll probably be like my prep chef, and then I will cook. And then he's more laundry than myself, or more pressing actually. If we yeah, and I mean, and every now and then we're going to admit it. We have to admit to ourselves that we will need help. So yeah, we'll just get help every now and then, and we'll just maintain after that. That's where housework is concerned. And in other roles, as he said, we do our best. I think we do our best to try and do most stuff together. Yeah, we try our best to do that, because as you said, if one person is tired or one person is not feeling the energy, the other, you can't worship together. Yeah. so yeah, that's a part of it. And you don't want to leave the other person out of the loop. So, if there's a case where, like for instance, when I was in the hospital, if I'm in the hospital, he has to take care of certain things. So it's best to always be in the loop with each other about stuff, even if you don't, even if it's not your specific role. So I don't know if that covers all the rules, but that's it for us.
Samuel and Amelia. Annika.
The laundry part and Samuel surprised me.
Yeah.
But onto Yvonne and Paul quickly, and then Uncle Carlton and Carlene.
Well, I've learned to play reverse role early. First of all, once we got married, we never bought anything without it is in both names. Nothing at all. If I buy a TV, it is in Yvonne and Paul. I don't want if anything happen, me I take up my TV or she take up her TV and I walk. So we buy everything in both names. Everything, vehicle, everything, all the vehicles, everything that we owned, it is always in both of us' name. Now, when I get married now, of course, Yvonne never finished her studies, and I was a salesperson, and boy, so I had a little more free time than her in terms of, so every day, whether I'm in Westmoreland, whether I'm in Portland, I have to drive back to pick up the children them. Thank God, them play football. So sometimes them not finish until 6 o'clock. But I've always drove back. She didn't have to leave work to come and do the pickup. I always drive back and do the pickup. Now, it reached a time now where she must go to university. But of course, I have another mother who really and truly, you have to learn to do things. I was telling them at church today that if I wash the clothes and put it on the line, and my mother look on it and dirt upon it, she take it off and throw it in the dirt and say, me no wash the clothes good. You can imagine that analogy there? She take off the clothes, the clean clothes and put on the line, throw it in the dirt, and tell me, say, me never wash the clothes good, must go wash it. So I learned to wash very early in my life. I learned to cook. By the way, what many people didn't know, when I was about 12 years old, and about 12, my mother and my brothers leave come Kingston because my mother no want to leave our daughter because she don't want to leave her daughter when she come into Kingston. I mean, coming to Kingston to live. And she didn't want to leave my big brother because he used to get in all kind of trouble. So me at 12 with my other brother at, I think he was about 8 years old or something like that, live alone for nearly a year in Mandeville when my mother came to Kingston. So you know what? I had to learn to wash, cook, clean, and be a father to my little brother from then. So when I got married now, I know that there are certain things. So when Yvonne started go to school, I came home, I cooked breakfast, wash, clean, do everything while she was at school for 5 years. Most of the time, I did things so that she could go to school. And in those times, I couldn't go to school while she was going to school. So as soon as she was finished with school, then I started school. But I don't have a problem. I enjoy doing what I do. And she wasn't a nagging woman. By the way, I can't take nagging woman. So that was a good thing for me, even though nagging. And if she talking about something, she just talk and she done. She not carry on and carry on and carry on and carry on. because she knows that me have a longer time on the football field and work would I'd have longer hours at work. So, and she want me to come home.
All right. So with all of that, I can't say that we sat down and say, okay, you're going to do this, responsible for that only, or I'm going to be responsible for that. When we just got married and coming from a house with what, 6 siblings, and you're the second to last. All the older ones used to do everything, basically. Because how my mother does it, the girls started doing some of the house chores and the cooking. And frankly, when we were small, we younger ones couldn't go in the kitchen. So when all my bigger siblings leave home, all I was really responsible for was like making breakfast and cooking soup on a Saturday. So of course, when I got married, I couldn't say I'm going to take on all the cooking because I had to learn. Okay. So that duty we couldn't separate. So Paul had to teach me to make rice and peas and to learn to fry chicken and to do the works. So we didn't really have that segregation. So because he was mainly responsible for the cooking, of course, I'm going to do the housework and I'm going to do the laundry. So what we do is wherever one fit in, then the other do. But of course, you know, with the housework, the women tend to do the housework a little bit, you know, a little bit more detail and so on. So we automatically take that on. But another thing too, and then when children come into play, what Paul did was he really took on most of the cooking. So like breakfast, I never had to worry about breakfast, basically to this day. And it used to just amaze them at work that when they see me coming in my nice breakfast and thing, and they say, boy, you have time to get up and do this? I said, no. My husband makes sure I make my tea as I wake up, and then he makes the breakfast because he was used to making breakfast for the children because I had to bathe them, get them ready, and do everything else. So that's how we do it. If one is busy doing one thing, then the other have to fill in. So I would say we share basically everything. When the washing machine broke down, I woke up early one morning and Paul was already outside washing by hand. So I could have just join in and wash. So we really just share the responsibilities. Yeah. As best as we could.
Okay. Over to the Holness. Yeah.
All right. So when we just got married, what Carlton would do, and not many men doing that anymore, you know. When Carlton get him pay a month, then he just hand it all over to me. Can you imagine? Every month I get Carlton's salary, he just hand it over to me. So I would pay the bills, do what we need to do, and then in turn give him pocket money. You hear them something there? Yeah, man. And him collecting him pocket money, and I took care of all the bills, did all the business. Because I'm that type of person. I like to take charge and to make sure things are happening. Not because he's careless, but because sometimes he's busy and he may forget. So I tend to ensure the bills are paid. And let me tell you, I've been married for 34 years and I can't remember ironing for 10 minutes for Carlton. I've never really ironed his clothes, Carlton. I don't like to iron. So it's when we just get married on the table, what I don't like to do, what I will do, what I will tolerate. So he knows I don't iron. So when you see me out there every Sunday or wherever, Carlton does all the ironing for himself plus me, and that makes me very happy. We share the cooking. As it relates to the driving, Annika, because of our jobs, we're not able to have the chauffeur driving and thing. That was in the way earlier days. But now, you know, I really only get chauffeur driven on a Sunday when we're going to church because of our busy lifestyles. As it relates to the yard, he takes care of the yard. I take care of my garden. I love orchids. I love plants. So I take care of my garden. He's not allowed in my garden. He can help me to water under my instructions, but the yard, he takes care of the yard. We have dogs. I can't bother cook the dog food. I will do it if I have to, and I've done it over and over, but I make it clear to him, you want dog, your responsibility. So he makes sure that the dogs are looked after and fed. And do you know we have chickens? Yes, man, we have layers, you know. So I'll go out and feed the chickens and I'll pick up the eggs. Yes, man. What else we do? But everything generally, whatever needs to happen, because of our busy lifestyles now, we bring in extra help to help us around the home. Because don't fool yourself. As Samuel speaks about worshiping, boy, when the struggles of life and children and you're tired and everything, worshiping is the least thing on your mind. But one thing with Bishop will do just about anything. He will walk across the ocean just to make sure that I'm not tired. So there's time for worshiping and there's space for worshiping. He will always say, lift up, man, that can't do tomorrow. That can't do tomorrow, man. Come on, come. But you know, communication is very important, because unless you communicate, you don't know what each partner needs and what we need to do to make each other happy. We will know what to do to meet each other halfway. So you have to communicate, you have to talk about it. And you know, let me tell you something. Don't fool yourself, you know, in any relationship you're going to have quarrel. And let me just share this experience. It is a bad experience, but I learned from it, and I don't want anybody else to fall into this trap. One morning we had a disagreement, and we quarreled from home straight to work. I know how far that from Spanish Town go to town. And we quarrel, but you know me and the most I quarreling because Carlton and Carlene bring me. When we reach to Kingston, we come out of the car, I slam the car door, you know. Normally I said goodbye, you know, like a chips, kiss and gone, but you vex. And slam the car door and the car door never drop off. And gone into the office. And would you know that within about an hour could have been crushed, and you know, they rushed him to university hospital, and that was the time when he broke his neck. And I said to myself, oh my God, what if he had died? Is someone come out vexed and gone, and my heart full of unforgiveness and all of this? And I learned from that day. So young couples who are young persons who are thinking of getting married, those who are already married but young, you're gonna have disagreements, you're gonna have fuss and fights, but don't carry it. Deal with it, and when you part in company, make sure you part company in a good way, because we never know what's gonna happen. So I manage the money, I run the house, but Carlton run around the house, you know? So that is why we're married for 34 years.
And just to add before you go, I don't, as she was saying, for people who are getting married or thinking about getting married or already married, do what works for you. Nothing is gender specific. Don't bother follow. You realize what works for you. Make it work. Don't look at anybody. Yvonne says, you know, whatever it may be, what works for you in your house.
All right, so first thing I must say, I give God thanks and praise for washing machine, because when I got married, that was the first thing I dropped washing. I hate washing with hands. It's terrible. I detest it. I get miserable once a year washing with hands because of my bad experience. I usually wash all day before I got married, and when you look on the line, it's just one line of clothes. I don't have any much, but it was the whole day washing to wash some pieces of clothes. So I hate washing, but I love to iron. So you see the change there. So Cardi, you do the washing, I do the ironing. I don't have the problem with picking up the clothes off the line and folding the clothes. And I love to cook. I can bake. I can clean. I usually make pizza. Remember those pizza days? I usually do pizza. Friday evening I usually do pizza. And so I am homemade pizza. Not go pizza out, you know, I make it myself and make from scratch. I buy my pepperoni, I buy the various things, and we make a pizza. So cooking is not a problem to me. Baking is not a problem to me. And of course, we try to, as I said, turn and make fresh and do a lot of things. I agree with Sister Annika. Don't try to match with the couple across the fence. Whatever make your marriage work and you happy, do it. It may mean that the man will do the washing on a Saturday and the lady scraping up the yard. Don't let that bother you, because that's what each person like what make them happy. Maybe you don't know, maybe the husband have a problem with dust and it may make him sick and asthma come on and all of that, and you don't know. The other person across the fence don't know that. So when you see the lady doing good in the dust and the man doing the washing, you say, hey, how can a man that? But you know your secrets inside your marriage. So, and your strengths and your weakness. So don't let anybody dictate and your spouse, your wife happy or your husband happy.
Work it
that way. Don't let anybody come between your marriage and start to tell you what you should do and your man and why you don't do that. And so if you, whatever make you happy, you do it. All right.
Right. Thank you for those responses. Based on the responses everybody has been giving, it kind of cut out some of the questions because it kind of overlap in terms of answering them. So in light of that, we only have 2 questions left. We're going to give the 2 questions to everybody. By the way, Auntie Carlene, militant, just saying.
Just to add though, Auntie Carlene, Deshawn, of course, them say a fire never water anymore. Deshawn is the water. So Deshawn has always, ever since he got married, has always encouraged that, in a disagreement and whatnot. But in any event, if we're upset, all you just say, God forbid if anything should happen, just as you mentioned, boy, can no say with him always take the lead, bless the Lord. Take the lead, but just make sure that everything I'm learning though, we get better though. Sometimes I take the lead, right? Because I'm learning. It's a learning process. We learn from each other, and we get better as the day goes by. And that is why it is important, as Uncle Carlton mentioned, that it has to be love. It must be love, because it is love that will carry you through. Like nothing else not gonna carry you through but love. And to just understand that God is love. So if it isn't love, if it isn't God, then you're just not gonna make it. So try as best as you can to just always work it out. Okay, so the next 2 questions.
All right, so final 2 questions. This one is, I know every married couple, or most, I would say, talk about how many children. We have men that want 12 and the men that want 2, and the women that want 12 and the men that want 2. So in terms of discussing how many children would you want to have, was there a challenge there? Is there, or how should I say this? Was there a challenge in making a decision, basically?
Or coming to an agreement.
On how many we should have.
I feel like more Uncle Carlton fans at first.
All right. So, of course, I am from a big, huge family. Between my father and my mother together is 15 of us. All right. So, and I am the second to last of 15. Of course, 2 died on my mother's side. I don't know my father's side when he died, but and I was 11. My little brother in Canada would be 12, but it turned out that I am number 9 alive, and my brother is number 10. So you know what happened when I get married. I want a big family. I want, maybe about, 3 sons, 2 daughters, 5, 6, them numbers there. Plenty. Well, I can't say unfortunately or fortunately because I'm not going to fly into God's face. Me only get one. That's it. So I have to settle with my one and make the best of my one. All I dream about nowadays is grand. So I continue dreaming until the Lord bless me with grands and become a reality. But I don't remember if we had discussed it with children. I don't remember.
I think he said he wanted 4. So he will settle with 4. And I said, okay, I will settle with 2. But we only got 1 and no more came. It's not by choice, just no more came. The doctor said nothing wrong with me, nothing wrong with Carlton, no more came. So our lot was 1. So we're working the 1.
And I'm enjoying the 1.
And let me say, even though we only gave birth to 1 child, we have helped so many other children. We have helped to send other children to university. We have helped to send other children to other schools. We have helped in the day-to-day living of other children. So we are really parents to an abundance of children, but the Lord just blessed us with 1. And that 1 bundle of joy is our complete blessing.
And I suppose that is why the Lord only blessed you with 1, because
Maybe.
He needed you to help others.
I think so too.
All right, Paul and Yvonne.
Well, I can remember when I was very young, my mother had 12 children. And I can tell you, 6 of them us lived together at one time. And I can remember that we moved from house to house to house because my mother couldn't afford it. So every time she had to find money for so much children and buy food and all kind of things. When rent time comes, she couldn't pay the rent. So we moved from house to house to house. So that is one thing that I would never, from those days, from I was about 10 years old, I made up my mind that certain thing would never happen to me. So I wouldn't go and have children with no woman outside. I have this whole bag of children and can't afford it. I know that from about 10 years old, that will never happen to me. However, when I was just getting married, I was telling myself I don't want any children. Oh, my Lord. I wouldn't have more than 3 children. That was always the talk. I wouldn't have more than 3 children. Yeah. But as Carlene says, the amount of children I have is phenomenal. People from all over the world. And that she remembered the time when we used to, I think she called me and she was talking on the phone. And she said she remember how I used to be a father figure because I took my children to everywhere that I would want a child to go. I took them to Jolly's. I took them to Kentucky. I took them to stadium. Carry them a stadium when tracks and champs and make them understand life. I took them to the pool at mineral bath, and I did all of that to the children. So I think that the decision was a good one. One at the time we were thinking about a daughter, we get a son, and the 2 sons. I now have the formula for son. yeah. So that was it.
Yeah, I must agree. When we did talk about children, we had said the max would have been 3. So it so happens that because I had to do C-section, they say usually if you try a 3rd time, it's back in the day, it was a big risk. So the doctors would advise not to, get 3 C-section. So we had just settled on the 2. Yes, the first one, we know we're going to have we didn't know, but we were hoping that it would have been a boy. And with the second pregnancy, we thought it was a girl. Everybody thought joy at the two boys. So yeah. And then because I know I come from a big family, I really just wanted to keep it small, not the 7 and the, you know, and in spite of, I'll tell you what though, in spite of growing up with a lot of siblings or parents, as Carlene said that she helped a lot. Or parents will even still take until they can, you know, manage on their own. And there's one set leave, another set. So I'm accustomed to having a big family all the time. But we had just settled to say, okay, God is only 2, we're settled with the 2. So we never really have any issue as to, you know, to say, you want 5, we want 2, we want 3 now. So yeah, that's it.
Well, all me can say is give thumbs up because you set up.
That was long ago.
Deshawn, look how you nearly never born, brother. All right. I find this is a very worrying trend now. So I noticed that the 2 couples, they came from very large families and ended up having a small family. I come from a small family, so I'm kind of afraid I know.
Yeah, we're a little concerned, but yeah. But yeah, I think we always discuss 2. Yeah, and it was because the kids, them expensive now. It's not like back in the days when you could have 14 and 15 and everybody still eat. And all right, yeah, it's pretty expensive now. So we always said 2. But you know, if we do get just 1, to God be the glory. So we're not complaining. So 1, 2. I mean, the ideal thing would be to get probably twins, a boy and a girl, and just hey, you know, be just done right there. But you know, let's see what God has in store. But we're deciding on 2. Yeah.
Well, Samuel can go and work at either 7 up or 3.
Hello.
Uncle Paul said.
What was that, Uncle Paul?
Can work out where?
7
up or 3M.
Let me tell you this. Twins. We wanted twins actually. We wanted to the one and done, the twin, hopefully a boy and a girl. But after this little one, yeah, 2 of them. No.
They say just work with it.
I'm mad you. 2 of them, no. But thank God, you see that is why God is perfect in all his ways because he know me couldn't manage that.
Can I give a word of advice though? The reality is this: the time with a child is not long; it's very short, and the longest time is when you will enjoy even more when they become adults. When your children reach in their 20s, and you see your big son and your daughters around you, assuming that you're going to bring them up in the right way. It's a very nice feeling. Sometimes not maybe one of them can't really give you certain things that you want, but when you have 2, it takes the pressure off the one. And let me tell you, I have seen persons with a lot of children. When I say that a lot, I mean like a 5 or 6 or 4 or so. And they struggle, yes, when they're young, in a sense, sometimes. But once you can take them through university, and sometimes we think that we have to have the university money. No, then we have them. No. God will supply all your needs according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus. And if you stay in God and you're responsible enough, as I know the couples here are Annika and Samuel, you'll be surprised to know that you can have 3-4 children. Take them to university, and when they start working and you see the blossom, you're going to say to yourself, I'm happy I had them. But I am not, everybody is different, but don't set out for just 1 if you can have more than 1. I'm not saying persons to have 12 like like my mother or Paul's mother. But at the same time, don't limit yourself too much because in the long run, when you look back, it's going to be worth it. You're going to feel happy. I guarantee you that. And then they will also have siblings to go up with, to play with, to communicate with, and then get older to talk to link with. It's going to be beautiful. All right, that's my thought.
All right, so thank you. All right, so quickly now, this is the last question for Samuel and Annika, considering that you're the youngest. So did your partner during your courtship? And the second part to the question is, do you think it is important to have him or her be a part of your courtship?
All right, so my pastor, during the courtship stages, I wasn't at Kencock, so my pastor was my mother. So for that question, I think so I'll answer with my experience and what I think should be the ideal. So I had always said that when I found the person and I had confirmation who that person should be in my spirit, then I would of course have to bring them to my parents and have them vet the person. I know we're talking about pastors, but let me just talk a bit about parents first. So my father, when he met, and anybody, you probably heard this story before, when my father met Annika, he was saying it at the engagement party that he knows how to choose cars well. All right. So whenever he chooses a car and it clicks, then yeah, he knows the right car. So when he saw Annika, he said that same click when him choose a car, that click happened with Annika. So I thought it was very important to introduce her to my parents. On my mother's side, no, my mother is very protective of her sons, like really, really protective of her sons, and she loves her son so much. So mommy was a bit more while she was receptive, mommy was a bit guarded. Generally, she's going to be guarded about any woman that comes into my life. So she was guarded. But once her spirit connected with Annika, that was our goal as well. In terms of the preparation for marriage during courtship, I understood that seeing that she was my mother, premarital counseling, I could not have gone to her. Mm-hmm. And certain things she would not have had a role in. So I went externally to a marriage officer. I wanted it to be a case where anything that was supposed to be discussed, any issues that were supposed to come up. Not that I do have a good relationship with mommy. Of course, everybody would know that I have a very close relationship with her. But I felt that it had to be somebody external so that they wouldn't be afraid to say certain things, or I wouldn't be afraid to say certain things. You understand? So just a word of advice, ensure that premarital counseling happens. It have to happen. If it doesn't happen, I mean, the amount of things that came out during the premarital counseling session that I wasn't even thinking about as a counselor, it was really amazing. And it gave us different perspectives. It was an eye-opener. So my advice, a pastor, for those of us online who are Christians, has to be, well, ideally should be involved. You can't bring somebody from outside in the church and introduce them to your pastor. You can't just take up somebody and your pastor does not know who the person is, or your pastor isn't introduced to the future spouse. So if you go do that, and then problems arise, you think you can bring the person to the pastor? If I didn't meet the pastor, I would have said, boy, you never bring him to me. And I said, I don't know him. But that's just me. That's just me. I know that Bishop Holness and Uncle Paul won't respond like that. But yeah, man, very important. Ensure that you bring your spouse to your partner, or at least have premarital counseling.
Yeah, Pastor. Yeah, I agree. I fully agree. I would go even further to say, if it is possible, to have both, to have premarital counseling with both a party that doesn't know you and also your pastor, if that is possible. Just to get both perspectives. And of course, as he said, just to be unbiased, because even them being your pastor, there are certain things that you may still not want to say in that forum. So I think if it is possible to have both, so still have your pastor very much involved, and if it is that you can have an external party like from Family Life Ministries or one of those places, I would say go ahead and do that.
All right. I saw a question in the chat. Can I address it, Sasha Deshawn? All right. When is the right time for premarital counseling? After engagement or much earlier? All right. So what my counselor had given me a story, and he said that in his training, he doesn't like when people have a particular date in mind, because if you have a date in mind, it's almost as if you're expecting that you have to get married when you come to premarital counseling. And the sad reality is that during premarital counseling, you may just find out that this partner is not yours.
Some people don't make it.
Some people do. And then I found that if it comes up in premarital counseling that, maybe both of you aren't really compatible, or maybe this isn't the right step to make, and persons ignore, it usually results in a lot of problems. So I would say to that, it would be good to have it as soon as there's a serious intention to get married. All right. As soon as you have a serious intention, it can even be before engagement, but as soon as you have a serious intention to get married to the person, engage in premarital counseling, so that if it is that something comes up and both of you aren't meant to be, then you just need to do what you need to do.
I'm not going to answer on that particular question. I just want to, I know that Deshawn and Sasha had said that that was the final question, but I just want to make, and if I'm allowed to, am I allowed to Deshawn and to make a point?
Go ahead.
I know that on this line, there are many persons who are not yet married. And we are talking about marriage and all of that. A number of persons have not gotten married because of how persons perceive them and what people have said to them. And a lot of people have not gotten married because they allowed people to dictate to them what type of partner they should have, how their partner should look. Sometimes it's even family members. I remember one lady said, I couldn't send my daughter to school for how many years, and she get married to him. And I was wondering, why on earth would somebody, as if to say, is she going to be the husband? We have to understand that who you like might not necessarily who the person like. So if you have this prince child that your daughter or your friend should get, sometimes keep your advice to yourself. Allow the person to make their choice, and if they ask you for advice, then you give them your advice, and you should never in your advice make any decision for anybody. And sometimes people end up don't getting married because people telling them that this person not too good for you, that this person is not up yours, up. What they have to say, you are not compatible. Who on earth have this responsibility to tell people who they are compatible with? I think we should shift away from that and allow people to make decisions. And if they come for advice, you give them the greatest advice you can give them. But we should never make decisions for people. So I'm saying to young persons, you see somebody and you like them, take your time, get to process them, get to know them, and it should be up to you to make the decisions as to whom you married to and who you love and who you care about. And hopefully that person will blossom. Even if they're not the person that you think they should be at this time, they might just come up. Like somebody will say, well, you went to university and him just go to primary school. So what? That is the character of a person is what is important to the development of relationship. We must understand that high school don't make you, or university don't make good relationship. As a matter of fact, many of the relationship that is falling into divorces are people who are so-called compatible, educated alike, have money alike, come from family background alike, and they're the ones that are the relationship are crashing. So listen, those things are not any criteria for people to get in together in relationship. That's my take on that.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. Thank you so much for allowing us to practice. Hi.
Any room for me to say a
Go
few
again?
words?
I think
1
you have
minute.
1 minute.
All right. So when looking at partner, please don't, it's bad to look on what the person have in terms of material, as I said earlier, and also just solely for outward look. Outward look will come, will be a part of it, but also you must make sure it's not for what the person have materially, because sometimes that can really get sour at the end of a certain time, and you can be very disappointed.
All right. Thank you.
Ooh, less than a minute. Auntie Carly, they see that? Bye-bye.
Thank you. As I was saying.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we'll soon say bye. All right, so as I was saying, thank you guys for sharing with us. I personally learned a lot, right? I learned a lot that I will be establishing in my marriage. You know, there was a lot to take away. And so I want to do one more giveaway, and this is for one of the singles. Based on the fact that a lot of knowledge was thrown out, a lot of inspiration, a lot of encouragement from all three couples, I'm going to ask this question. And the first person to respond by first, let me put it at that. Raise your hand and you can give your answer. Name one thing each couple shared that stood out to you about their marriage. So name one thing about each couple that stood out to you about their marriage.
I'm seeing Tiffany's hand first.
Tiffany, you're not married. Is this Tiffany? Is this Tiffany Burke? All right, so she lowered her hand. So Russia, you go ahead.
One thing I learned was to find each other's strengths and weaknesses. I think I got that from all three couples, and that will allow the relationship to work, because then you'll be on a level where you say, okay, I'm strong in this and I'm weak in this, and where I'm weak, you will back me up, that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure if that was it, but that's what I gather.
What say you couples? You're the deciding factor, you know. Samuel, Paul.
Good answer.
General.
Yeah,
Yes.
that sums it up. I mean, that part.
Okay. All right. So Rashara, you would receive the prize. However, I'm just going to Reverend says she learn about worship. If nothing else, no remember, worship is the talk for the night. Definitely remember that, right? I'll put the wife in the house so that we can worship and give glory to God. Amen.
And remember,
Amen.
you cannot have worship if you don't have fellowship.
Look at God. Amen. All right. So thank you so much. Thank you for the persons who were just watching and participating. Tonight was so I'm going to invite Evangelist Reed to just give a vote of thanks right now and just close us out in prayer. And so we can say farewell to
Alrighty.
everyone.
Thank you so much. You will agree with me that this was quite, it was good evening. Just give it a little wave, then I'm gonna turn on your cameras if you can, and just give us the wave. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It really was a good evening, and we just really want to thank God. You know, the discourse was very frank, and you know, had even for those persons who are, you know, planning to get married, those who are married and you're not yet practicing some of the little nuggets that you get, you have something that you can take away this evening. And of course, as I said, those who are planning to get married, hint, hint, hint. There are certain things that seem universal among the three couples, the whole worship business, you know, and working together. Yeah, man, look like the worship thing, they're quite serious in this thing. Yeah. And so I really want to thank our guests of honor, Brother Sam and Sister Annika, Pastor and Sister Forbes, Bishop and Sister Carlene. Thanks so much, for really just opening up, your life, and just sharing with us, how you maintain 34 years, 33 and a half years. I don't remember some and Annika, but I know you looking, 3, and we know that by the time it go on multiply and multiply, and your worship, it's going to go on and on and on, huh? Yeah. And so I just really want to say thank you so much. And I hope and I pray and I trust. And we know that when we pray, God answers. And it is our prayer here. I'm sure everybody on the platform, it's our prayer that your marriage, your relationships will last and last and last. Of course, to our host, Deshawn and Sasha. Yeah, man. Excellent job. And you can know that them thing kind of up top according to the body, because you see all them kind of in sync and, and that sort of a thing. Thank you so much, for steering us in the conversation, the discussion flowed, and you maintain the vibes. And I really want to say thank you so much. Heaven bless you. And you see, if me didn't know, say, I saw the one, longer than the company program, but no, me no. Thank you so very much. Yes, bless you. Of course, you know that this evening where it was our season finale, and so we're going to be taking a break, but there are some persons too that I really have to get. And before I even go there, I need to say thank you to the praise and worship group, Sister Krishana and Janelle. Great job, really electrifying, and it really led us into that place of real worship, of connecting with our God. And so thank you so very much. And as I said, though, it's the season finale, and I really want to say thank you to some persons who have been really constant for every episode. And I cannot but start with Sister Alicia Johnson. She has really been, our prayer miss a beat. Sister Alicia, I'm not sure if you're on or so, but I just really want to say thank you so very much. We only had to tell her, what we wanted and that sort of thing, and she was never late. Sister Alicia never late. Sometimes when I go on, Sister Alicia on there long before me. Yes, and she made sure that everything was in place. Thank you. And we know that she has recently laid her dad to rest. And so we just want to pray that God, continue to support and to strengthen the Wilson family. Thank you so very much, Sister Alicia, for your support. Sister Raven Reed, and I call her Mabunononos, yeah? She's responsible for like designing the flyers, and sometimes she gets speakers. Raven, she's like the Energizer Bunny. She's always going. And for the youth board, forgive me, but me telling her, she's just part-time. Me not take her. She's just part-time. She helps out so much, helps us so much here. And I really want to say thank you, Rav, for, your consistency, for, always being there, and giving you suggestions and making sure that everything is together. Heaven bless you, Raven. The other worship leaders, we have like Sister Daisy from John's Hall. We had like the Hackett twins. They never say no. When we call on them, they were always ready and they gave up their best. And I want to say thank you to them. The presenters, I noticed that Nicole Kenwood Brown is still on, and I want to say thank you, ma'am, for those electrifying presentations that you gave, and all those other persons who presented on the health forum. We started out with like the physical health, and then we went to like relationships and that sort of a thing. We want to say thanks to everybody. The blessing is that everybody who presented during our 2 seasons, nobody asked for $1. They gave their time and they did an excellent job, and nobody asked us for even a cent. Not even one gift when they give them. Just thank you. And they were satisfied. And some of them came on even more than once. And we really want to give God thanks. And be real, this is a blessing from God. And we continue to pray that God will continue to load us with favor. Amen. So our presenters, our host, and Sister Annika, Sister Vivian Brown, Sister Frankine, Rav herself sometimes. Thank you all for steering the programs and making each one of them unique and interesting for the persons who came on. Board members, Sister Carlene, Sister Tracy, from Chalky Hill, Sister Ingrid and Sister Carol from Ballinure. Thank you so much. They're always there. And when it's time for us to meet and do our thing, they're always there. Thanks so much. Our International Women's President, Pastor Christine, not always on, but she's always giving her blessing, and she's always willing to give her suggestion. Of course, our National Bishop Holness, our assistant, Bishop McDermott, always in our corner. They don't miss the program. And of course, at the end of each program, I can always look forward to the call, of encouragement and to say, continue to do this. Thanks, Bishop. Thank you, Bishop Wallace. Thank you, Bishop McDermott, for the continued support, sir. God bless, woman of God. To you are valid persons who come on the platform month after month, those in Canada, those in US, those from Jamaica, those who are members of the Berean Church, those who are visitors. Blessings. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for staying with us all when we run over time. You are here, and we just want to say thank you all. Heaven bless you. To every person that did anything to make this health forum a success, I really want to say thank you, and heaven bless you. No, we break, this is a finale, but for the month of July, we have Woman Ball Out, and we know that nobody can ball out to God like when woman ball out. So it's for the month of July. We will keep you informed as to when. It's just going to be for 3 hours. We start like 10 o'clock at 1 o'clock so that people can, go get them liquor rest and everything. But we really want to have this our nation, our, our churches, and we really want women to really talk to God on behalf, of our nation, of our family, our children, and so forth. Yes, thank you. And of course, finally, please keep in mind the Jamaica chapter that we have women's retreat in the first week of November. We're hoping that this time we will be at an all-inclusive, and we're working on it. So you work on it from your end so that we can have a blast, we can be refreshed. Remember, we are ordinary women in the hands of an extraordinary God. Thank you all. Thank you. Heaven bless you.
Thank you, guys. You are dismissed. Have a wonderful rest of the week, a wonderful rest of the evening. And if you don't remember nothing else, worship.
Oh, and for all the men that are online, if you noticed at the beginning when Sasha was asking questions, I was just like, yes, yeah, that's good advice. So, just
happy life, and happy worship. Have a good one, guys. See you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye,
guys. Thanks, everyone.
All who want to see me dance.
Now is your time.
Good night, good night, good night.
Good night, everybody. Blessings.
Good